Hey, welcome back to TC Disc Golf. Today, I want to talk about the idea of course redesign using a local course here in Inver Grove Heights, the Valley. This is a course that has been around for quite a long time, since at least the late 80s, and has been through a couple of redesigns. So the most recent redesign calls this park the North Valley Disc Golf Course, because it only utilizes the North Valley side, and the South Valley is being repurposed by the city for other purposes. One of the biggest changes, most notable changes in this recent one though, is the idea of having 2 tee pads and 2 baskets at every hole. This is a design that I've seen at other parks like Bryant Lake Park. And this is done so that people of all different skill levels can play, so you can have some variety in what is available to play. And this is something that I think is a good idea in general, but it's very hard to do well. And there's some holes on this course that really show that this is something that's hard to do well. So some of the holes that stay the same: hole 6, which used to be numbered as hole 5, hole 10, which used to be numbered hole 9, hole 11, which used to be numbered as 10, hole 15, which used to be numbered as 17, and hole 16, which is old hole 8, and 18 stayed mostly the same. The same can be said about hole 1, which they just moved the pin placement a little bit. Hole 6, with the caveat of the new baskets. Hole 12, they moved the basket a little bit shorter so you don't have to throw over a path, which I think is a good decision. And there's some changes elsewhere where hole 13 was made shorter, so you used to throw, there's a hill where 2 paths kind of come around and then meet before they would go under the tunnel. Now you throw from up top. Instead of throwing out and into the woods, you throw just straight out, and this was so that they could make room for an extra hole. Hole 2, they cut it in half so that now there's hole 2 and hole 3, and they extended the back line of 2 to make it a little bit longer, just to add a little bit more challenge. Hole 5, which they took 2 holes and they combined them to make one of the long placements, and then they kept the short basket for the short placement, and they added a new tee pad. Hole 7, which hole 7 they took and they moved the pin over to make room for a new tee pad for a new hole as well. So the holes that are completely brand new: hole 3, which plays as a over the hill and to the left; hole 4, which is the brand new hole in this course using some of the extra land that they apportioned, another over the hill and to the left hole; hole 8, which is a down the hill hyzer shot over some trees, and they're planning on clearing up some of the forest, so some of those tree branches might be getting removed. And that one is kind of interesting because hole 8 has a double basket, meaning they took the short basket and the long basket and they placed them on top of each other. Hole 14 is brand new. It's where you throw from where this pond is, you throw up into the area that the old basket for new hole 13 used to be. It's there to kind of keep those numbers up. Hole 9 is also new and probably one of the best additions to this course, along with hole 5. And so that one plays up and tight right. So I actually would think of hole 9 and I think of hole 5, and those 2 holes are almost mirrors of each other right now. So hole 5 from the longs it's a sharp left and then it goes straight for a while, whereas hole 9 is uphill to the right and then it goes straight for a while until you get to the basket. And then you have hole 17, where they took and they used one of the old short pads and they added a new long pad, and they're playing that one to some old baskets, but then also they put a new basket that's a little bit closer. So the new valley is more scoreable, which is, for a city park, a good thing. I think a lot of the short layout is extremely scoreable. So I expect to see a lot of aces on this course. It's not a bad thing. It just shows that the difficulty level of the course as a whole was lowered. I think a lot of the course relies on, right now, trees and tree placement, and not like in the sense of, oh, there's a tree in the middle of the fairway that forces you to choose whether to go right or to go left. But like hole 3 is a good example. Whenever October comes, maybe they'll clear it up some, but currently they can't clear the trees, and basket sits over the hill and to the left. It's kind of almost a blind shot, but it's like this downhill into a grouping of small trees. And so the only way to ace it right now is to get lucky and have your just kind of go through, or to have an insane amount of control about the degree. If you're a righty, your hyzer, I guess for me, that turnover shot. I think also hole 8 right now kind of plays like that, because hole 8 has a ton of trees around it, but they said they were planning on clearing some. I think the other thing is, like, I would rather have a course that's not a full 18, but plays a little bit more difficult. But I understand the idea of why you want to keep a full 18. I think the multiple pins idea is something that can be really good and really bad. Like, if you're not a brand new player or a kid, the short to short is kind of almost too short. It also makes it confusing because now some of the short and long pins with multiple placements, you get people who are going at different paces, and you end up getting groups crossed, and not in like a, hey, let me play through sort of way, but there's some pins and there's some tee pads where you literally could not know there's a group there throwing until they're walking out across yours to get to the next tee pad. One of the best things that they did is they took and they added an elevated path from the tee pad of hole 16 across, because it plays in this marsh area where sometimes when we have enough rain, which we haven't had recently, but when we have enough rain, it usually floods. And so they added a drainage system and they added an elevated path so you can walk across it. And so that's a welcome addition to the course. I think, like, in general, when I think about course redesign, I guess I've just lately been kind of bummed by some of the redesigns of changes that have been made necessary because of cities, because courses have needed to make use of less land. And that makes, I think, in general, holes that are less enjoyable. When I think of like redesign of a course, my hope is that it's always an upgrade. And the truth I'm learning is that a lot of times redesigns aren't upgrades or downgrades, they're just different. A lot of people are going to fall in love with this new valley layout. A lot of people are going to like it. And then there's some people who are going to be not wowed by it. I think if I was to sum up the way I feel about the valley right now, is that it's not great, it's just good. Definitely a course that I'll keep playing, but it's one that I'm probably going to look to play mostly whenever my wife wants to play, just because it's one of the few that has extremely short layouts. And then, so if you would like to see more about this course, or you want to see other courses, comment what those courses are below, and I'll do my best to try to get my thoughts on them. If you like this style of video as opposed to my walkthroughs, let me know, and I'll try to do some more playthrough, walkthrough style videos as well. Comment, subscribe, and like, and as always, I'll catch you in the next video.